Let me start off where the move of the motion left off, quoting Martin Carter about Dark Night. You know, Mr. Speaker, between March 2nd, 2020 and August 2nd, 2020, this country had dark nights, dark days, dark weeks, dark months, because of the honorable people over there seeking to deny the Guyanese people their rights. Mr. Speaker, again, the move of the motion is seeking to amend their motion apparently on the floor. And it shows how confused they are over there. When they bring a motion, they don't know what they want out of it. Our resolve clause speaks nothing about the commission of inquiry. Nothing at all. Yet she stands on her feet this afternoon and she's adding another resolve clause. She made passing mention of the commission of inquiry in one of the second whereas clause. But the honorable member, the honorable member has to determine what she really wants. Is it a commission of inquiry, or, as a resolve clause state, and let me read, that the National Assembly calls on the government to make full disclosures on all aspects of the tragedy at Lusignan Prison on the 19th of September 2020, and to declare what actions have been and are being taken to reduce the opportunities for such situations from recurring. The Honorable Minister of Home Affairs will speak to the measures, because I know that there are many measures that will seek to protect inmates and to make the life of prison officers safe as they do their work. Mr. Speaker, the honorable member used several times these three words: truth, justice, accountability. Imagine the APNU+AFC coalition speaks about accountability when we have ministers over there wearing gold bands, utilized by the government and the people's money unauthorizedly. Mr. Speaker, justice. What justice you talk about? What truth you talk about? You're incapable over there at the opposition benches of telling truth. That is the reason why the Guyanese people will never, ever again elect you to govern this country, because they know that you're incapable of speaking truth. And I wonder sometimes when they speak over there, why lightning don't strike them down when they use these words. Mr. Speaker, again the honorable member indicates that there was no information. There was no information from the authorities. But yet, she reads what the prison officers and what the prison service said after the incident. Totally upside down. One time, we have no information. But with the same breath, the honorable member reads the prison service report of what transpired on the 19th of September. Oh, and then the honorable member went into this conversation about these two deaths. It was tragic. Look, our colleague over there, Honorable Member Ramjatan, he is responsible for 18 deaths in the prison. Yes, and what have you done after then? You burned down the prison. Even after the Commission of Inquiry recommended what you should have done. And so, Mr. Speaker, when the opposition come here,
Honorable Member, Mr. Jones.
Standing Order 41-6, impugning improper motive. The Honourable Member is saying that the Honourable Member Camarade Ramjatan is responsible for the deaths of the 18 prisoners, which is not so. We beg that it be withdrawn. Thank you.
Honorable Member, Mr. Hamilton. Unlike Ms. Edmond, she was quite careful with respect to how she was assigning responsibility.
Mr. Speaker, the Honorable Member Camarade Ramjatan, Minister of Public Security, superintended over the prisons when 18 persons lost their lives because of his inability. Mr. Speaker, after the Commission of Inquiry and its recommendation, the Honorable Member, Mr. Ramjatan, failed to have the recommendations happen at the prison.
Mr. Speaker.
And after then, we had a fire burning down the prisons. And so,
Honorable Member, Mr. Jones.
Mr. Speaker, following up again on Standing Order 41-6, the Honourable Member did not withdraw his statement. So we need to know if he's going to withdraw or if he's going to be stricken from...
If he doesn't withdraw, I've already written here instructing the words to be struck out. Right? So, Honorable Minister, would you like to do the honorable thing and say you withdraw?
Mr. Speaker,
yes.
I have said
yeah, okay.
that the Honorable Member, Mr. Camarade Ramjatan, who had responsibility for the prisons,
yes,
under
but
his watch,
prior to that, we heard responsible for the deaths. So that is what I'm asking you to do.
he had
Okay,
responsibility.
Honorable Minister, I'm instructing the clerk that they will strike out that part of your speech when it comes to it. Thank you very much. You may proceed.
That he had responsibilities for the prison.
Yes, we heard that.
And on his watch, the prisons existed for over 100 and odd years, and they never had 18 deaths. Never in the history of this country. Comrades Ramjatan, Minister of Natural Security, on his watch, Honorable Member. And even after the Commission of Inquiry, he failed to act on the recommendations. And subsequently, we had a massive fire at the Georgetown prison. So what Mr. Robson Ben is trying to fix today is because of Mr. Camarade Ramjatan making a prison unavailable on his watch and causing more people than should be at Lusiktan to be at Lusiktan. That was the result of your inability as minister, Mr. Ramjatan. I know you will come to speak and pontificate, so I'm trying to preempt you with your pontification that you were the worst ever to superintend over the security system in this country, based on your record. Mr. Speaker, again,
Mr. Jones.
Mr. Speaker, Standing Order 41-4. It shall be offensive for any member to use insultive language about a member of the House. The Honourable Member just referred to the Honourable Member Camarade Ramjatan as the worst Minister of Government.
Honourable Minister, please allow me to rule. Honourable Member Mr. Jones, I don't see our interpretation. Proceed, Honourable Minister.
I'm stating a fact. Never in the history of this country, any security minister had the prison burned down 2 times and had 18 persons died in one such tragedy. What is insulting about that? I'm restating a fact that this country is aware of. Mr. Speaker, again, The honorable member who presented this motion spoke about and lauded the Commission of Inquiry under their watch. But it was just a Commission of Inquiry on paper. What happened after? What happened after that? What happened after that? Is the prison system better when you left government? The answer to that question is no. We are trying to repair it. As I speak to you again, the honorable member, Mr. Ramjatan, must know that the Mazaruni prisons on this watch was to be finished. Today, Robson Ben, Minister, he has to finish it. So all the recommendations coming out of the COI, honorable member, Mr. Ramjatan, failed to implement. Maybe, as the people say, he was busy with the other project, that is a gun license project. Mr. Speaker, look, the APNU+AFC, for whatever reason, they enjoy latching on to the demise of citizens to make political points and to create mayhem and havoc. We saw it last year, where they latched on to 2 deaths, and subsequently all kinds of hell broke loose. People were beaten, robbed, houses burned. Who beat them? Look, one of the gentlemen is over there. The man who walked a GW, I asked him who beat them. He was there directing the show. Mr. Speaker, again, they're latching on to the demise, whilst all of us, Mr. Speaker, care about people dying in circumstances like has happened at Luziknan. The People's Progressive Party Civic, we have never utilized the death of a citizen to make political points and to seek to take it to a place where it can create friction in this society. Mr. Speaker, the honorable member again spoke to full disclosure. Full disclosure. You know, many of the things that you should have disclosed, it is us in government, we are now making full disclosures. Because you fail to account to the Guyanese people, and you fail to be transparent in government, whether in security or any other sector. And that is the reality. So the honorable member comes and she pontificates, and the honorable member comes and says, I am calling for a COI, and she failed to put it in the motion that she brings here. Apparently it's an afterthought, like the other motion that came before this one. Mr. Speaker, I know that recognizing the dilemma that the security system faces, the government of the People's Progressive Party Civic, we have already taken several actions to deal with the issue of the prison service and all the other security agencies. The minister will speak specifically to them. Unlike the previous government, who neglected to do that. Look, after the fire at the prisons, you know what was important for some people in the government? Was the corruption that will flow to erect back new buildings. And you follow the history. It was sole source. It was not public tender. So off of the demise of 18 persons, many of the persons who were cronies of the government at that time. They made serious money. And Mr. Ramjatan can attest to the fact he was unpicking, he and Bangles were unpicking the persons who must rehabilitate and who must build the new prison block and who will get concrete work and who will get woodwork.
Mr. Speaker, Standing Order 41-6, the Honourable Member, Standing Order 41-6, the Honourable Member is impugning improper motive by the former Minister, Mr. Kemraj Ramjatan. We ask that he withdraw it or it be stricken from the record.
Tell me where the impugning of the improper...
The Honourable Member, Mr. Hamilton, said that the Honourable Member Kemraj Ramjatan was handpicking persons to build a block at the prison, which is an offence to the law.
Mr. Speaker, whilst I cannot...
Honourable Minister, this is an area where I think I can't rule in your favor. Because I have also read a number of statements in the press with respect to some cells being procured for Camp Street, right? And unless I can see where there was the normal processes, I would have to
I note your comments, Comrade Speaker, but we are talking here in the National Assembly.
Yes.
And we are guided by the Standing Order Assembly.
Right.
The Honourable Minister have referred to the Honourable Member, Kemraj Ramjatan, as in handpicking contractors to build a prison block, which would be an offence of the law. Therefore, his comments are your sword, impugn improper motive by the Honourable Member. And therefore, in keeping with the Standing Order, that has to be withdrawn.
I am going to stand by what I've said to you. Honourable Minister, continue, please. I also again want to urge that we be careful how we frame
Mr. Speaker,
some of our allegations.
Mr. Speaker, let me say this. Maybe my good friend should go read some of the Auditor General report regarding this matter. Mr. Speaker, the motion before us is the normal, what I called earlier, this vulture culture of the opposition. Vulture culture, where they utilize the demise of citizens to make political hay. And that is what this motion is about. That is what this motion is about. I would dare say, if the Honourable Member and her colleagues had so much concern about the two gentlemen who lost their lives, they would have come to this National Assembly, the first sitting after, and come before us and maybe seek to persuade the Speaker to have it be a matter of national and urgent importance. Adjournment. They did not do that. So you have no agenda. Mr. Speaker, so it is now finding a new front to battle on. That is what this motion is about. Mr. Speaker, we are, as I said, fixing what Mr. Ramjatan and his government left in a deplorable state vis-a-vis the prison service. And, Honourable Member, and whatever situation developed because of the overcrowding that was a factor is because of the mismanagement of the previous government of the prison service and the system. That is what Lusignan became what it was not intended to be. thanks to Mr. Ramjatan and his government. That is a reality. Honorable member. Mr. Speaker, the honorable member that presented this motion to us, maybe when she gets up very shortly, she would seek to advise us what really is our desire. What really is our desire? Whether she, as a resolve clause says, she wants disclosure by the minister, which disclosure has already happened, I would dare say. The disclosure has already happened. So she is asking for something that has already happened. Recognizing that maybe some one of our colleagues, when we had the break, advised her that Mr. Robson spoke to this matter. And so she stands on her feet, the honorable member, in the House, as my colleague is saying, Mr. Robson spoke to this matter in a deliberate way, and he will speak again about it, recognizing that what the honorable member is asking for in our resolve clause has already passed. That action has already happened. The honorable member now comes and she says, let me amend my motion on my feet. I now ask you, the government, to have a commission of inquiry about this matter. Mr. Speaker, the minister will speak to the matter and would outline government programs and policy regarding the prison and the total security sector. And I'm sure that very shortly, when the national budget is presented, more of the measures will be outlined. And what I will say as I take my seat is we can commit to the people of Guyana that we will supervise the prison service 100 times better than Mr. Ramjatan, honorable member, and his government supervise. And so, Mr. Speaker, the honorable member that brought the motion is asking whether I'm opposing it or not. I don't know what is your resolve clause. Maybe the resolve clause speaks to National Assembly calling the government to make full disclosure on all aspects of the tragedy. But the honorable member on her feet, I'm making the point, amended this resolve clause. And she called on the government to have a COI. So you have to tell me what you want before you ask me for support. I don't know, honorable member. Is this resolve clause we going with, or the one you shot on, or the one you on your feet you put before the House? And so, Mr. Speaker, we of the People's Progressive Party Civic, we take the matters as regards rehabilitation and reformation of the prison service and inmates. And let me make this point before I take my seat. Recognizing that there are need for many interventions at the level of the prisons and in the prison service and in dealing with inmates, and the point the honorable member made, who brought the motion about humanizing people. Already, for the information to this House, the Ministry of Labor and the Ministry of Home Affairs, we have already convened a meeting to discuss programs relative to skills development for inmates. We have even discussed, beyond that, maybe apprenticeship programs for inmates. So we recognize that the prison service must move from where it is at the moment. And we have to, as the honorable member said, seek to humanize inmates and seek to make them better persons so that when they come out back into the civilian life, they will be able to be productive citizens of this country. So, honorable member, maybe after you wrap up, when you say to us what really you're seeking, maybe then we can discuss whether this makes sense or nonsense. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.